Then we'll take questions from the floor. You'll get 1 minute to ask questions, and they'll get 2 minutes to answer, and Connie will be flashing cards if we get to carry on. So get your questions formed in your mind, if you don't want anybody to go on it. You can't see me, can you, back here? To go on and on, so, we'll get started with that. So, who wants to go first?
Shirley, it's still hard to hear.
Yeah,
It's hard to hear? Okay.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to use
Is
the
it okay for
mic
Nestor?
and pass it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
Nothing going.
oh, we're gonna let Dave start first.
It's already went down a couple times.
Have you turned it on? Turn it on.
Can we
Hit the button.
How's this?
Better. There you go. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. This really means a lot to all of us, I think. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself, Dave Waltman. I've been on the city council for 4 years now, or almost 4 years at the end of the year, running for re-election. A little bit about me: I have 4 years of experience on the council, and I think I listen to people very well in the community and pass on your thoughts, and your thoughts are what's important to me as far as making decisions. I'm running for re-election to the city council because it's my way of giving back to this great community and doing something I truly enjoy. We've accomplished some great things in the past 4 years, and there is more to be done. I want to continue to be a voice of the people of Lakeview and representing you on the city council. One of the goals I have after listening to people from our community is I think we have to focus more and work harder on housing need, and I think all the candidates here would agree with that. We have to come up with some type of senior housing and new development. And another goal is working with the DNR to put the dredging on a fast track on our lake, because our lake is the biggest asset, as everyone here knows. And I want you to consider these facts. Just around the lake, on the lakefront itself, we have 326 dwellings that are assessed value at $78,870,000. In the Lakeview proper, we have 477 dwellings with an assessed value of $39,485,000. Now, if you compare that to our neighbors in the north, Sac City, they have a total of 962 dwellings. And again, these are just like homes, that type of thing, not businesses. And they have an assessed value of $66,700,000. And the point I'm trying to make here is that as a council, we not only have a huge responsibility to our residents here in Lakeview that live here all year round and seasonal, but what we do or don't do has a huge effect on our county tax base. That's why I think we have to keep the lake at the forefront of our economic and tourism development. A vision I have is getting the dredging done again as soon as possible on the lake. I envision some sort of senior housing and new housing development, and I envision somewhere down the road a bike trail that goes all the way around the lake. I also envision being the destination of everyone in Iowa that everyone in Iowa can talk about to go visit. I think the biggest challenge is housing, senior housing, and new development. We need to figure out a plan to get this accomplished and make it our #1 goal alongside lake improvement. I guess I have to stop right there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll have more trouble stopping. I'm Vicki Toms. I've served as postmaster here for 18 years. I moved here in 1996. I've been president of Lions Club. I still belong. I've been president of Community Club for years, and I've been a member since 1996. The advantage to all of that is I have a really good working relationship with an awful lot of people because I came across an awful lot of people. And of course, being the postmaster, I got to know most people in town. So I think I've got a history of working with people for a common goal. And I would like to work with the employees. I've worked with private. I've also had union experience, so I think that helps. I previously served on the city council in Laurelville, Iowa for a while. My goals and issues. I'd like to see an economic development committee formed. We don't have that. We need to have it independent of the city council, and it should be a cross-section of our business people, I believe. Open to a little bit of input there. But I think they need to have a good relationship with the city council and the mayor. In the past, we've had some businesses that were interested in locating here, and the ball just got dropped. And the reason it got dropped, I think, is because we don't really have a plan. And we don't have an economic development committee. So when that person comes in, there's only one person left to deal with them, and that's just not enough. The city management cannot handle all of economic development, I don't think, but they certainly need to play a part. I'd like to see TIF funding used. I'm not going to get into TIF funding exactly, but it's money that comes into the city for economic development only. So I would like to see it used. I want to say right now that one of the things that I've heard is that any vote for me is for an event center. The event center was a project that was on board. It died about a year ago because the council withdrew support for it. At least that's the way it was interpreted. Originally they had 5 years to come up with a study with a plan. And so when the project was stopped 2 years into it, that project just really died. You have volunteers that are working one day, one evening for a couple hours a month. It takes a long time for something like an event center. I would tell you if the event center committee started up again tomorrow, it'll be 2 elections before you would ever see probably any plan in place, because it's huge, so that kind of died off. I am not on an agenda to have an event center. I didn't even occur to me when I ran until I started to hear it out on the street. So it's a non-issue, but we have about $300,000 in TIF money that we could use, and the time is running out. We've only got less than 5 years left for that, to use that money. It could be used for a lot of different things. Affordable housing, like Dave mentioned, I think is huge here. Assisted living facility, maybe. Attracting new business is huge. And another thing is helping our existing businesses expand. We had a business expand not too long ago, and they really did not get any encouragement from the city for TIF funding or anything else for their infrastructure. So I'd like to make a difference there. I just think the community needs to be behind whatever project we pick. The event center was not, it really wasn't given enough time to get off the ground. The committee didn't have a size, they didn't have a location, they didn't know how much money it would cost. It just never really got anywhere before it stopped.
Thank you, Vicki.
What's on my time?
Good evening. Again, thanks for coming to this. My name is Ken Whitey Steinkamp. I've been on the council the past 8 years. And one of the things that I think qualifies me to help run the city is that I manage truck drivers. And we've got about 300 truck drivers. I personally manage right around 40 to 45 guys. And these guys are spread out all over. One of my qualifications, I feel, is that as councilman, is I like to create discussion, and that might be whether it's at the council meeting or whether it's at the any other meetings, the community club, the hometown pride committee. I try to attend all that, as many as possible, to really find out what's going on and what's happening, what the people are thinking about. Personally, I think as we got to do we need to run the city like a business, and that's why we got to look down the road. It's not something that it just happens. It's something that you got to plan for. This is just like the new sewer plant that we're working on. I looked at that plant 8 years ago when I first got on, and again, that plant was in bad shape back then already, and it was starting to cost us more and more each year, and it was important that we had to put a plan together. Yes, we had to raise the rates for sewer, but it's a gradual thing. It wasn't something that you had the whole thing to turn over right away. we call this about a 40-year plan, and this 40-year plan is something that you gotta look into the future. You hope that you can have the plant paid off in 20 years, and 20 years, then you can start financing again, saving if there needs to be some updating or expanding. I hope it's expanding. As you heard Vicki and Dave talk about, we do need a housing development. We need some place where we can build some homes. We need to promote this location. This needs to be a destination, not just a pass-through place going up to Okoboji. I feel that we are capable of working together. We've got a lot of talented people, a lot of people who want to give their time, and volunteerism has gotten outstanding since when I started. I went to my first community club meeting 8 years ago, 3 people. 3 people, that's all there was. There was no interest, there was nothing. It was a sad deal. One of the best things we did was we created a marketing person, a person that helps promote. And in 2011, we became a Iowa Tourism Award winner. And that's something for a size this town is. It's amazing what we've accomplished and will continue to accomplish. It's just getting people to get involved, working and helping and volunteering. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Terry Reese. I've been on the council 4 years. Never missed a meeting if that matters, but I'm a voice of the people that elected me 4 years ago, a longtime resident of Lakeview and the surrounding area. We've lived here 16 years, and business owners and operators all the while we've been here. So my goal is probably to see the projects that we've started, to see some through, sewer project and the street projects. Big projects, both of them in this city. We need a lot more streets redone, and those sewers, well, we're working on that. So it's that's be a long time deal. And also to improve the lake, which has already been said, that the tourism is probably the biggest thing in Lakeview when compared to even when we was in business. The summer to the winter, there was no comparison of people. You know, it's a lot easier to make a living through the summer than it was through the winter. So, and also to keep the taxes down and have an affordable place to live while we're trying to get all these things done. Trying to budget enough money for the sewer system, street repairs, moving sewer underwater pipe in the lake without raising the taxes for the 85 or 90% who can't afford to have the taxes raised. So, and otherwise it's like housing, but it's just when we was young people, my wife and I, Joy, we'd ride around in this town when we were 16, 17 years old, and this is always where we wanted to live. You know, this was our town. So this was our town. So we're glad to live here, and hope this, you know, we got a lot of stuff going on. Hopefully it'll all work out, you know. But I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, I'm nervous, everybody.
It is. Just hold it.
Oh, okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Really nervous. My name is Jeanette Green. I work over at Kathy's Corner. Been there for a couple years now. I hear a lot of things, you know, from the customers. I do a lot of talking, and I have, you know, 2 children, 7 grandchildren, 9 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild. I just think it's time to have someone new, a new face, new ideas. You know, I think we need to do something more for the kids in the community. They have nothing to do but walk the streets. I think that we should, you know, have them involved in what they're doing. You know, what they want to have in their, you know, like some kind of a rec center. Try to get them off the streets. You know, maybe a skate park or something. I want to continue to see everything getting nicer around here, you know, fixed up. I think that's all I got.
I agree. Well, first of all, I'm Gus Cleveland, and I agree with everything they said. No. I've got a lot down here, and I talked to Scott about it, and I said, what I'm trying to do is find, and I tried to get on the government program, but all the programs went south. And there's room to put 9 apartments in. And I've had there's older people that want to live in apartments and be able to have someone come around and check on them every day, make sure they take their pills and stuff. And I'm still trying to find something to help me do this, whether it be a government deal or a grant. And I'm all for that. If I'd get 9 of them in there, that would relieve 9 houses in town that other people could move into. So, I was raised in this town, and I moved to Wall Lake and farmed for a while, and ended up back in Lakeview because that's where I wanted to live. So, this is my hometown. When I was a kid, I was down at the lake 90% of the time. Mom knew where to find me, somewhere around the stone piers. But I think that this lake is one of our biggest money makers. If we can keep people, I've tried to tell the mayor that we need to have some little docks that would go out like into a T. And I'd like to see that with a couple benches on it where people could sit out, and they don't have to be over 15 foot out in the water, where they could fish, and the young lovers could sit on the bench there and look at the moon. But there's dreams here in Lakeview that I think we'd get together and could do on the lake here. That lake is very important to us, and we need to push DNR to get on the ball and get things going. We need to get it dredged. We need a place to put it. I guess I'm about done.
You got a few
Thank
minutes.
you very
A
much.
few seconds.
Okay, now the interesting part. Can you hear me any better? It echoes up here. We're gonna let you ask questions. You've got a minute to ask questions, so don't go off on a tangent because we'll cut you off. But you can ask one or any of them the question. You can ask for 1 to respond, 3 to respond, whatever. So who's got the first question for the evening? Go ahead, Jane.
This is for each one of the council candidates. I'd like each one of you to answer this. What is one important change that you would make if elected to the council? Dave, you want to start?
You betcha.
Grab the microphone.
One change that I would make would be the council and the community organizations working together better, because I think that would solve a lot of issues. More communication from city offices to the council to the different organizations.
I agree. I don't think there is. I think the relationship between the city council and the organizations could do a lot of improvement there. We depend on volunteers, and they need to be treated with respect. They need to be able to come to the council. If you give them a commitment, you should stand behind that commitment, not fold it the first time you get a little pressure. So I think that, again, I'm going back to economic development. We've lost population in the last 10 years, and if we don't do something, the lake isn't always just gonna carry us. So Main Street especially has suffered. You know, it's not that we have a lot of empty buildings, but we have more service and less retail. And then that creates a problem for the retail that we still have, because I remember when TJ's was open and you went uptown on Saturday morning and it was full of campers and they loved all the little shops, and now we don't have any of that. So I just think we need a committee of business people that can make a change there. That's kind of my vision for Lakeview. If our population continues to decline, you're not going to see that school up there. I mean, there's going to be a lot of ramifications. So it's every citizen's job to be a part of it. We need to increase revenue coming into this city. The only way you're going to do that is to have young people settle here. The only way you're going to do that is to have affordable housing. You need amenities that they like, and you need to find a reason for them to grow. The splash pad, I just want to say this. You know, the splash pad committee worked on that and finally got that. I think we're going to see that next year. I could not believe how many people, young people, came up to me that I didn't even really know very well and said, we're so excited about this splash pad. So you have to kind of look, what do the young people want, and how are we going to get them here?
I guess one of the things that I would wish we would have been able to change is that we have that business development out there by Boulders, and as you all know, it's hard and difficult to get people to come to town, especially creating new jobs, just for the fact of having people to hire. I deal with that every day. I've got problems hiring people in Colorado, got problems hiring people in North Dakota, South Dakota. It's a tough thing to do. What I would like to see is that if we could change that into a housing development of some sort, and I don't know how we can go down what path to see if we can make that happen. That would be a perfect location for new housing, new opportunities, but I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but it's one that we can kind of look at, so.
I'd like to say, first of all, that it's too bad TJ's got old, you know. But we've probably still been there, but there, you know, I agree, the council and most generally, I can almost say that we don't know what's going on. The council doesn't know compared to the committee, with the committees. I mean, we probably need more input there too, you know, that the council does not know, and maybe that's our fault, I don't know, but I don't have time to go to every meeting there is in this town. I mean, I wish I did, but I don't, so. But keep working on it, that's all we can do, maybe we can make it better.
Okay, I think we should get all the citizens involved in everything that's going on. Let them have a say in the changes that would be made. We want the kids we want to bring in families. We need something here for the older kids to do too, not just the younger kids. And we do need the affordable housing. Some of the houses that are here in town that look like they're falling apart, I think somebody could go in and fix them up and do a affordable housing there. There's a lot of places that need to be cleaned up. I think cleaning up those places would help bring people in too.
Well, everybody's got good answers there. We need housing, and we need communication. There's a lot of times when I was on the council, things were kind of cut and dry before the meeting got started. I think we ought to be more involved, and the Home Pride, I think, should come to the meetings when they have something that they want to run through us, and the council should decide on that. It shouldn't be kind of forced on to people. I think communications is a big problem. Thank you.
Okay, next question. For those of you that don't know, you keep talking about bringing in people, and I can tell you that there's been a help wanted sign out at Evapco every time I've driven by in the last, I don't know how many months. They've got 150 people that work on the floor now and about 20 people in the office. They continue to look for people like electrical engineer. They cannot find the housing that they want here. The houses that I lived in when I first got married, they won't live in. They want something nicer. That's the way it is, unfortunately. So they're right. How many people in here are baby boomers? Yeah, 1946 to 1964. But you're too old to be a baby boomer? Yeah. Well, here's a statistic that's going to scare you all to death. There are 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day across the United States. 10,000 a day. Who is going to take those jobs? Where are going to be the viable communities to encourage those people to come? That's what you need to think about. Next question. Yes.
I have a question for everybody to answer if you'd like to. I'd like to
Start with
input.
Gus this time, 'cause he's
I'll start with Gus this time. Okay, Mr. Cleveland, you're number one on the docket here this time. I have every one of you people say that we need more housing in this town. Okay, but I also know that the planning and zoning doesn't necessarily want to address some 3 or 4 or 5-story apartment buildings. There's some people on planning and zoning and on city council who think that's not a good thing. I'm telling you, it's a lot cheaper to go up than to go out. So, what are your thoughts about 3 or 4-story condominiums or apartment houses that are affordable?
Take it away, Gus.
It depends on where you're gonna put it. If it's gonna be right in, close up to the lake,
Yep, you're on.
right up close to the lake, or blocking a view of someone maybe seeing the lake, I have no problem with that. You know, as long as it don't disrupt somebody's view, I guess. So, I agree, going up is good. I sit over there by, where old East End was. They talked about putting something on that corner. And I said, that'd be fine, but they said they can only go up so high. I said, what difference does it make, you know? As long as it ain't blocking anybody's view, why, and, I have no problem with it.
I see a lot of empty lots in town. You know, we talk about, you know, working on the lake and everything and bringing people in, but we have to keep the citizens that are already here. I think, you know, build up a housing, low-income housing, you know, and go up. Sac City has it, and they don't seem to have problems with it. You know, if you can find the right piece of land.
Well, yeah, I agree, it's probably cheaper to go up than it is, just to keep building out on flat ground. The only thing is, I think our restriction, city or county, is 36 foot, and they don't look like they ain't gonna break that code very easily, as far as I know, you know. Cause I think they've tried to do this on the east side right now, you know, but I don't know if it's gonna happen, so.
Well, when this came up for a vote, I was the only one that voted for it, and I knew that wasn't a very popular decision, but it's a decision that needs to be addressed and needs to be looked at again, and I think it's important that it's always a change, something that's a little different. It always makes people worried that it's for the worst. I guess I'd say an example of that would be the golf course, mini golf course. I'm sure there was a lot of people that weren't too favor of that when they put that on the shoreline. So, and now it's an attraction. I mean, there again, like I said, common sense dictates how you do a lot of things. And if you can understand, we know we got to work in certain code of, we can make that happen. But we got to make the determination that we want it to happen. That's the key. So. Again, I voted for it. I'm not against it. I'm just thinking that it's one of them opportunities that needs to be addressed again and see what happens.
I agree. I think, I've said for 15 years or better that we need some condos because we have people that don't have the capacity to maybe take care of that lake home or any home really. So they're looking at apartments or they're looking at condos. And quite frankly, the market is there out on that lake for condos. People, you know, that was I thought it was a wonderful deal. And when he came back with when Happy came back with the modifications, I thought it was even better. Obviously, a lot of people did not feel that way, and maybe that was the wrong location. You know, you have to go by your zoning and what you have, and I wasn't real familiar with that. I do know that the zoning here, the variances are handed out like popcorn. That should not be. So the Planning and Zoning Commission, you know, there's a lot of work to be done here, and step up to the plate if you think you can help, because we need people on these committees. You know, sometimes it's just easier to let things keep going than it is to make a change. People don't like change. But there's a market on that lake and there's a market in town for condos because people, you know, they're getting that baby boomers coming and, you know, you get tired of doing that yard work. You don't want to shovel that snow. Condos are the thing of the future, and I think we're missing out by not taking advantage of that. If you build higher end condos and the people buy them and move into them, and some of them are local, now you've freed up some housing. You know, it's just kind of a domino effect. And I'm not against a new housing development either. That's also going to free up housing. But I do think there's a place in our community for condos.
She's getting the high sign.
Okay, I think this is going back to the condo issue we had back on the old East End property. I am not against condos either. The reason I voted against that project was that was just too big of a project for a small space like that. We have other areas now for the other Bobby Terrell's property. It looks like that may be open for some 3-story development. I'm going to protect the people that live along the lake right now because they did not buy their houses with the intent that somebody was going to build a 3-story structure next to them. If it was downsized to the point to where it did not block their view, things of that nature, I would probably be more apt to vote for it and really look at the project. But with the Bobby Terrell's property opening up here for future development, that's a great location for condos. I'm not going to argue against them. I think they are the wave of the future, like Vicki said, but there's a place for them, and I don't, if there was a large lot along the lake, piece of property that could have fit it better, that would have been a better place for a 3-story condo. So that's my take on that. Thank you.
Once again, you got to think about the assessed valuation that some of these structures can bring to your community, and by adding assessed valuation, that lowers everybody's taxes. I don't know whether you know this or not, but the land around Okoboji sells for $1,000 a square inch.
Wow.
Did you get that? $1,000 a square inch. So you might be looking a gift horse in the mouth around here. Okay, who has the next question?
Shirley.
Yes.
Can I follow up with one little bit on that?
Sure.
Well, just a little bit about that. You know, when the project first came to be, it did not meet code, or what I won't say code. It didn't meet the zoning regulations, building restrictions that we had in place. When he came back with the second plan, it actually did. He was asking for no variances. So it's not true that it was too big for that place. Now you might say that the people living on the lake don't want to have something like that pop up next to them, and I understand that, I get that. So again, I think it goes back to that zoning, but previously in that location was a restaurant bar, so, you know, I mean, you got to use a little common sense there too, so. Just saying.
One of the things that I would encourage here, and I did when I was in charge of SETD, is all zoning or zoning commissions, board of adjustments, and city councils all need to take training. Trust me, you all need to take training, and you need to take a look at those ordinances to see if they still fit your community. Okay, next question. Yes.
Hi, I've been coming to Lake for, well, over 30-some years, and I'm one of those people that own around the lake. We love it here. We love the community. We've known people here forever, and we really appreciate it. But I'm concerned about the lake itself, and I've been around for 2 dredgings in the past. I think I hear, and I want to hear from each one of you what you think about this. I kind of hear the DNR is just going to fix this. If you guys have been here as long as I have, each time they've come in and dredged, they don't have near the money. They only get to do a part of it. It's not going to solve the problems of this lake. And the one thing living outside of town here, we hear how many people are going to Storm Lake and going elsewhere. One thing I think Dave touched on was the property value of what it's worth around the lake. What is that going to do to the city if our houses drop down 5%, 10%, 15%? This lake is the most important thing. I hate to say that, but this lake is your golden cow to let you do all these other things you want to do. If this thing starts dropping 5, 10, 15%, because this lake looks like it is the last 5 years, your funds are going to go down way more than any condo or any other thing you can imagine building. You start taking 5, 10, 15% off the property taxes around here. So I'd like to hear is once this thing comes up, what is the city's position going to be about trying to do what Storm Lake did and keep this dredge here and try to figure out a way to solve the whole lake problem? And that's what I'd like to hear.
Terry, you want to start this time in the middle?
Sure. Well, the thing I like about the idea of dredging is just look to the south, on the south side, what they've done out there on the inlet. I mean, it looks like it did 30 years ago out there. It's cleared off except for a few muskrat huts, but otherwise, you know, that's something that can be taken care of. But that's what needs to be done. I think everybody knows that, but we're going to have more help than just Lakeview. We're going to have, and private money. We're going to have the state of Iowa, DNR, you know, the federal money or whatever to come into this thing, and because it's going to cost a lot of money to do this. And I can't remember your name, sir.
Mark Boat.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
answering.
Yep. Pass it
Either
on.
way, pass it on. He wants to hear from everybody.
Well, you don't want me to get started on DNR. Because I swear a lot of times what people say that stands for is right. I've told them before, I said, you know what? I said, we had good walleye fishing before when the carp was in the lake and it was muddy and we didn't have the grass. And people could boat, we could fish. I said, why didn't we just leave it alone till you was getting ready to dredge? And then in the winter time, you guys could have sucked that down, put them pipes and let it run over the outlet, sucked the lake down, killed it off, wouldn't took near as much chemical, and if they could get it sucked off enough, it would freeze all the way down, kill all the fish. But I don't know how long. I don't know if I'll live long enough to see this lake dredged. I really don't. But that's what needs to be done. We can get the lake dredged. They don't have a place to put it yet, and that's what worries me. They need to have a place to put the dirt, and I don't know if they've not talked to anybody that I know of, because I've asked different people that would have a place to. I said, "Does the DNR talk to you?" And they said, "No, they've never said a word." So that's what needs to be done, is get the lake dredged and get it in here and don't wait around. That's all I got to say.
Jeanette?
Okay, they should just eliminate the DNR altogether and put an expert in here.
We can't hear that here.
I think we need an expert to come in and tell them what they need to do. And Scott Peterson is, or, who is it, Scott? Yeah, he's so good at getting grants, he should be able to help get some grants besides having the state come in and get money.
Well, I've been on the Black Hawk Protection Association. I've been a board member the past 6 years. I just got off the board, and to address what they're doing a little different than they did before. If you drive north of here, you look out up towards Breda. All our water comes from Breda, that area there. And what they've done, they've set up some more terracing with different farmers. They've done with some cover crop. They've done some permanent land that stays in CPR land or whatever to stop having crops on it. They also have that holding pond right north of or south of Carnarvon that holds back the water. If you don't hold back the water, you're going to continue to get the sediment to come into the lake. It comes into the area that they just dredged out. So they've got a. What it was explained to us, there was a 25-year plan. I think we're in plan 8 or 9 right now. We're actually moved ahead of what we are. They have said they have committed, again, $25 million towards this one. They've got different parts of the organizations working. What I suggest to you people is that sometime when you go to a meeting, listen to what they do. We're very fortunate that Ben Wallace, who's a local guy here, he's got a lot to do with that. He's always looked out for us on our property and for our lake. And so I say stop in and listen to what you see, because they always give updates and they always give you an opportunity to tell you what's going on. And you talk about communications, it's there if you want to be there to look at. They usually have it on 5:30 in the evenings. It's usually on a Tuesday night towards the end of the month. So again, get involved so you know what's going on. There's all sorts of rumors that can go out. There's all sorts of rumors that can get changed. There's half truths. There's real truths. You know, find out. Take it. That doesn't mean just sit home and not be part of it. Be part of it. Get in there and ask questions. And you'll get some good answers. So, again, they are making some, like I said, I haven't been around here for the other part of the dredging, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're doing something a little different than what they did in the past.
When I first moved here, they were dredging over on the east end, kind of, where those new homes are over there now on the kind of the east-south side. The homes weren't there at that time, and they were dredging. In fact, where those homes are sitting now, that's where they dredged and moved the silt to. So, the dredging isn't, we would all like to see it dredged soon. Working with the DNR sometimes is challenging, but I'm with Whitey. This community has risen up and done as almost as much as I think we could, unless we had a huge influx of cash. I don't care what you're doing, it's always the money. But, the DNR come with this plan to renovate the lake, and everything that Ben said pretty much came true. So, we cleaned up the lake, and I wouldn't like it to go back to the way it was with the carp, and you had the blue algae and it wasn't so great. I was out there kayaking this summer, and when you run your hand through that water in the Bay Area, it is crystal clear. It was really nice. Is it that way all over the lake? No. Are there challenges out there? Yes. So what did the city do? The city stepped up and helped purchase the herbicide so that when the grass grew, okay, so first the grass grew, they buy the harvester. The DNR buys the harvester, the city maintains it. And hats off to everybody that volunteers to go out and run that thing, because that's an amazing job. And there's a couple of them here tonight. Anyway, so they did the harvester to cut down the grass. Well, it's a learning curve, First we had to have the harvester in the east end, took 2 hours to get over to the dumping site, 2 hours to get back. How much do you think you cut that day? Not a whole lot. Then the people were squawking because all that grass junk was growing around their docks, and believe me, I don't blame them. I saw it. It stunk and it was nasty. So they're out there cleaned up themselves. So now the city goes in and they partner with the DNR and they purchase the herbicide. And in the last 2 years, for the most part, that has been pretty successful. I know this year there was some issues on that east end. I think it was, you know, when they applied the herbicide, they maybe didn't get up close enough, but there were parts of the lake that worked well. When that harvester was broke down, every time we turned around, that vegetation got so far ahead that there was, you know, there was no way to catch up. A lot of money's been put into the harvester. We're hoping to have it out there running next year. Hats off to the city council and the city that has stepped up to do that. I think it's a cooperative effort. The dredging didn't help out there, and that's what the DNR is saying. If we dredge too soon, it won't be any good. We've got to clean up the watershed. We've got to clean up the inlet. That inlet vegetation will come back and grow again. That's the whole purpose of it, the way I get it. I've gone to a lot of these meetings. You really learn a lot. You always have to work with federal and state entities, and it's always a slow process. But we don't want to see property values go down. We want that lake open. We want that harvester to work, because right now, I think the herbicide and the harvester is our only chance until they do dredge. So step up and help. Go out and help operate it. Give some money. I don't know, whatever it takes. There's
You're out of time.
Well, you took up some of my time, Vicki. The only thing I have to say is I look forward to working with the DNR, because we're not going to be able to improve that lake without the DNR. We are going to have to do whatever we can to keep the lake on the track of improving. It's tough, but you know, these guys said it best. We are working on it. It's always going to be a work in progress, and it will get better.
All I can say to you is you have to get a hold of the right people, and trust me, after spending 30 years on Highway 20, you need to get the governor in here, you need to get the DNR, you need to get all your legislators, you need to get your congressmen and stuff in here, and get them involved and show them that you care about this project. We have moved this lake along. I wasn't here in the 1930s, that was BS before Shirley, so I didn't see the first dredging, but I was here when we did the dredging in 1993, put the spoil site over there, where Aaron's house and everybody's house is now, had to sit empty for a while and turned around and did some more dredging. So it's coming. Eric was a part of that too, so he knew all that stuff that was going on. So it is coming. It is coming along. It just takes a long time. Next question.
Good evening. I'm Mary Ludwig. I live on the lake every single day, April through September, with my family before we head home for harvest. It seems like the common thread among the candidates is really economic development. And in order to really make those decisions in a way that's educated, I would like to hear about what have you done as a either a current council person or as someone who would like to join the council, what's happening in the community, how you come to believe that you're knowledgeable about economic development to make decisions to move the community forward, and where you sit in that position in regards to being informed in the community.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Mary, I don't know what you mean by informed, and I heard Vicki state that we've lost some businesses that wanted to come to Lakeview in the past. I guess on the 4 years that I've been on, as far as I know, the council's never been told about those businesses.
Right.
You know, that again gets back to my question, my thing on communication. Sometimes we don't get all the information from the office, so to speak. And I guess when Vicki said we lost a few businesses, I guess I didn't know about those, and I still don't know who they are. So I guess communication improvement is one of the biggest things that we need to look at. I'm all for economic development. It's Shirley told me when we were talking about the Hancock concrete thing we were discussing at the beginning of the year, that if we, and she just touched on it a little bit tonight also, if we bring business that employs 30 people to town, that's all fine and dandy, but when that business competes against the Evapcos or the VT Industries up at SAC, you know, you're just hurting each business by doing that. So again, it goes back to the housing thing. We need to put that on the front burner. We keep talking about that every year, but we absolutely have to put that on the front burner.
I don't think that we've hurt these businesses, but I do know that you all compete for the labor force. By 2020, Iowa will be short 620,000 skilled workers to work in any of these plants. Think about that. 2020, folks.
I don't know, Mary, to address it, I think you have to be out in the community. I think that's where it's at. It's the gossip on the main street, and then you go follow it up. Is this true? Did this happen? How did this happen? I just think you have to be involved, and that way you get to be with a cross section of the community. You get to be with the campers coming in. You get to be with the visitors. You find out what's going on, what people want, what's being missed, and how they feel about it. You know, that's where you get your feedback. People aren't going to come to the council every week and say, maybe you don't want them to either. I mean, I don't know. You know, they're not going to come to the council every week and give you a rundown on what they think is going wrong. I mean, people just, for whatever reason, they don't do that. It'd be nice if they did, I guess. But I just think you got to be out in the community. You got to be around, and you got to listen to people. That's what I think you got to do. You have to listen to people.
She didn't get the card.
Oh, she did good.
Good job.
Shirley brought up a point about being short. I'm in the transportation end, and everything I read and talk to different trucking companies is that we're going to be over 50,000 drivers short by the end of this year. So just imagine what that's going to be like in the next 10 years. So one of the things that about communication is being out there and being involved. I try to attend everything I possibly can. I come to the community meetings. I try to talk to people there. They're more than welcome to come and talk to me. I'm never shy about that. I'm still go to the Blackhawk Protection Association. I sit in there just because I am on the council, that if there's anything I can help to move things along or make things better, I'll sure try to do my best. But again, it's getting out, going to the different activities. Progress is promised. I was here for that, trying to listen to what was going on. So being out in the community, it to me is more than just going to a council meeting. It's getting out, being part of these activities, being part of the I guess, solving problems, not looking for problems, I guess, and listen to people. There's a lot of good ideas out there. Just take, for example, look at the playground equipment. You know, that was a healthy goal of over 140,000, and you know, when I heard that first coming, I thought, wow, that's pretty aggressive. And like I told everybody else, you get some moms and some grandmas on a mission, you just get the hell out of the way. So, and that's what happened. I mean, the same way with this splash pad, with the Veterans Memorial, all the donations. I would assume that probably a lot of this stuff that's happened probably only cost the city probably 25 to 30 cents on the dollar because of all the volunteerism, time, treasure. You know, they all make it work, and that's part of a sign of a community that's proud of their community. They want to become involved. And that's what, if I have any other message tonight than this, get involved. That's what it's about.
I'd say my part, or our part is, of this, economic development is, we've kept Main Street full, TJ's, when we did wanna sell it, we could not find a buyer for it, and I think it's had 3 buyers or 4 buyers since. As far as the apartment building goes, I've got 2 businesses in there, and, the apartments are all full, at least, 99% of the time. But I think the biggest thing is you've gotta work with people. You know, you gotta be able to, if somebody needs something, you gotta be able to take care of them. You know, if they want something, you don't wanna wait, say, I'm gonna do this, and then not show up for several weeks or whatever. You gotta take care of these people. And I think that's a key to our building, I know that, and when we ran TJ's too, I don't think anybody ever went with something they wanted, they never went without. You know, that was just the way it was. We took care of people, you know, so.
We gotta have communication. That's the key to everything. You gotta find the right person to go to and make sure you're not gonna get a long lecture, excuses of why we're not getting these answers and still not get an answer. I think the apartments, you know, it's a great idea, but we need to do it for, you know, the low income people too, not just, you know, the condos, you know, the high end. It's gotta be for everyone, you know, no matter what their status is. That's the only way anyone's gonna come in.
Rumor on the street was, we went through, Breda one night, and they said, that should have been in Lakeview. That big building that he took up, what is it, half a block? Yeah. Yeah. And I said, never heard anything about it, that it even wanted to come to Lakeview. So, I said they was looking around to get the best deal, but I don't know what happened to it. I never heard anything about it, so I guess it's what everybody's saying, communication.
One of the things that I think is hard to understand is economic development isn't easy to explain to anybody, and when businesses decide to relocate, they don't always come to the people. But I'll tell you what, I've always threatened, for 25 years I was your economic developer for Sac County, and what I wanted to do is grab a bus and load everybody up and take them out of town. Because I wanted to take them to communities that were thriving, communities that were existing, communities that were growing. And they need to see examples, and if you never leave this town, or never leave your house, you're never gonna hear about these things. You need to see that. There are people in this room that do come to meetings, that try to learn about this stuff, they constantly spend their time to do that. Those are the kind of people that you need to lead you. And I'll tell you this, tourism is an $8.6 billion industry a year in the state of Iowa. We bring in $466.7 million in generated taxes for the state. That's nothing to sneeze at, but you have to continue to grow, you have to continue to change. Who has the next question?
Shirley, can I
Yes.
make one comment? Or I guess Mary, could you repeat your question?
You want me to repeat my question?
Yes.
to you?
Really, the crux of the question is, how involved are you in the community to take advantage of the opportunity to learn about the people in the community as volunteers that are giving of their time, talent, and treasure to move the community forward, and how involved were you in that process from the learning standpoint?
I must have missed your question because I thought it had to do with economic development. I'm sorry.
That is economic development.
Okay. I'd like to address that a little bit further because I probably have 30 seconds left or whatever. But you know, not all of us give back to our communities with being on the Hometown Pride or the Community Club or, you know, Lake Preservation. I spend a lot of time doing the ambulance thing. I spend a lot of time at my work at school. I am also elder at my church. I do a lot for the community around here in other ways than that. And when I'm and I'm also on the city council, and we have a lot of meetings to go to also with that. If you ask my wife, I'm gone 3, sometimes 4 nights a week. We all don't, like I said, give back to the community in the same ways. If it wasn't, these guys are really good at what they do of going to Hometown Pride and Community Club, but I choose to do it a different way. Does that make me a bad candidate for city council? No.
I think she's asking what you have done to develop your skills in economic development, or what have you reached out to learn?
Okay.
Is that what you're after, Mary?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have a question you want to ask?
I don't have a question, but I do have something I want to say. You know, they talk about housing and stuff, but then when people make lots, well, the house next to it buys too, so nobody can move in and buy it. Well, it happens all the time. You see it all the time. Empty lots, somebody buys a house and builds a new house, but then they buy this one, so nobody can move in beside them because they don't want neighbors. So how's that gaining us anything?
Well, at least you don't have 40 houses that haven't had any utilities for 20 years,
Well,
like some communities.
nevertheless.
So, yes.
Shirley, I have a question about the TIF money that is available to the city, and have we, or do we intend as a city to ask for TIF money to be set aside for the lake? And, you know, working with Lake Preservation Association and utilizing TIF money for the lake, in the cleanup of the lake.
First of all, you have to understand that the TIF money came from Evapco. That's their tax money, okay? Depending upon, and I can't tell you because I don't remember, they came in 1999, I don't remember the details of that agreement. Whatever the details of that agreement, limit your access to that TIF money, okay?
Do we know that?
So we're gonna have to find that agreement to know exactly what it says, because truthfully, I don't remember, and I probably was in the midst of all of it. In fact, I know I was.
Well, am I on?
Push up.
Can you hear me? No. I'm not technically.
Dave sabotaging me here, no. I've done some stuff with TIF. TIF gets very complicated, and Shirley knows a lot more about it than I do. I will tell you that the TIF money that comes in a brief 101 is, here's your agricultural land tax base. Now you put Evapco on it. Here's what they have to pay for taxes. The difference between the two is your TIF. This is a kind of a dumbed down version of it, but that's the only kind I know. So anyway, you get 20 years hard line for TIF from Evapco. That 20 years is going to be up pretty soon, I believe.
2020.
2020, right. Then we got TIF funding coming from Boulders and Ryans. That'll last a little bit longer, but it does not bring in near what Evapco does. So currently we've got this 300,000. You know, there was talk of using it for the event center. You know, I will never ever support something, even if I believed in it, that this community does not support. And at this current time, this community did not support an event center. So there's housing you could do. I remember I did say at one time, though, if you bought that land out there with the TIF money and you can't do an event center, or it turns out that it's not economically feasible, you can sell the lots off and you can sell for housing, and you'll have your housing development. But, you know, I don't think that's going to happen out there either. I think the only way that land out there is going to be utilized is maybe through private development. I'm not sure. Or if we can get new businesses to go in there. You know, it could be housing development, it could be a business development, but it's going to take some help with a developer, and you're going to have to partner. But getting back to that TIF, so if we don't currently have any huge project for TIF, and we're going to lose out if we don't. TIF was originally given to us by the state to help small communities with economic development. That's why it was a gift from the state, if you want to call it that. Steve Kettering might not agree.
No, he won't.
No, but anyway, that's kind of what it was. It was to help small towns develop, because it was to help give them some funding. So that's where we're at with it. You can't just go and use it to clean up the lake, or you can't just go use it to, help me here, Whitey. Anyway, there's restrictions on it. It has to be economic development. It has to result in some kind of benefit to your community through tax money coming in. Is that kind of safe?
The TIF that Evapco paid back the city for the infrastructure to take out there for the plant. The same way with Boulders, that got paid back too, through that, and also some of the hotel motel tax. So there are people much smarter than I am that put these agreements together, and like I said, I don't remember the exact wording on that particular one. So Whitey, maybe you do.
Well, one of the things that, as a council, we have a list of things that we could use the TIF money for. One was, like they said, was the event center. Another one was for possible senior living. Another one was building maintenance sheds and stuff like that. But the money should be used towards something other than that, than the building of a maintenance shed or the, we talked about senior living, and so this is something that's on the table. There's still going to be some discussion about that when we have our planning session that we usually have in January. The council that you elect will be discussing that. So there's different opportunities to earmark that and try to use that in a way that'll benefit the whole community, not just a few.
At the last council meeting, I thought we did earmark it for that levee they're putting in front of the inlet to keep the lake clean.
No.
Newgate. That was part of the TIF money.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, so we have a disagreement there. And I do understand that you've been able to keep your tax levy here in Lakeview the same for the last 10 going on 11 years. Good Lord, that's almost unheard of out there. And to be able to see the improvements that you have seen in the community. Anybody else have another question? Because I have one specific question that I want to ask each one of them, and they get one choice. Yes? Feel like Phil Donahue. Half you don't remember who that is.
I actually have two, if that's all right. My first question is, I've heard all six of you currently, and the six prior to this election, and the six prior to this election, and the six prior to this election, talk about housing development and bringing in people to Lakeview. If you're on our city council, would you, as a city council member, vote in favor of the city funding a new development area for housing and businesses to come to town? There's an opportunity for that to happen. There's ways to do it. And I think our city needs to step up and do it. I want to know if you'd be in favor of doing that to help bring housing to our town. Second question is very simple, easy, yes or no. If you're elected on the council and it comes back up for a vote for the event center that the city owns it, would you vote yes or no? Simple yes or no.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the first part of that, I guess. That is where TIF money could and should be used. You could use it, my opinion of TIF money, there's been abuses to it, but when they were talking about the shed, I was like, TIF money should result in something that increases tax revenue to this city, which benefits the residents, or it should be an amenity that the residents can use that they will enjoy. I don't think maintenance sheds fit that requirement. Now, you might be able to legally make it work, but that doesn't make it right. So that was my opinion on TIF. So for housing development and economic development and helping new business come to town, and not only that, but helping current businesses expand, that is where that $300,000 could use. You just need to make sure that the community is in agreement about how that should be. And then you get back to the open meetings, and the public needs to get involved. The second part of it is a yes and a no. I'd like to do.
Is it a simple yes or no question?
No, it's not a simple. And I'm gonna give you my spiel. No, it's not.
Okay, let her speak.
I would like to give it a yes and no, but the problem is that that was a 5-year project to get it off the ground, right? To come up with a plan. It was only 2 years in. You got volunteers working one night a month, and they're working on splash pads and kiosks and all this stuff. So the committee itself didn't agree on the location, didn't agree on the size of the building, didn't agree on a lot of things. So they were nowhere ready to put that out to the community for a yes or no. So it's hard to say no because you don't even know how a city-owned facility would have been set up. I mean, there's just no data there. There's no data on liquor sales and all of that, because all of these event centers, but I will tell you that that committee went to 5, I believe, and toured them and found a few that they thought were similar. Everly, Iowa. If you ever get a chance, go up and talk to them. I mean, they've got one that's working. But do I think that's going to happen? No. I think the only way we're going to get an event center is to have some kind of a partnership where we would give TIF to a public or to a private business that might be doing that, like, you know, Boulders or whoever. That's the only way I see that going forward now. So I guess it's a no.
The first answer to your first question, yes, I would support the city doing infrastructure for a new housing development. The second one, no. I would not be in favor of the city owning an event center like the one that was basically proposed.
Okay, next.
And the reason I say that is proposed is because I have a copy of the study, and plus I have a copy of event center plan, Lakewood Community Event Center plan that was given to the council, and that's why I voted no.
I think if you're gonna have housing development, the city needs to be involved in it. You take a look at these other small communities, Breda is doing a lot to help their hosting, but also Templeton, different towns are helping support it so they can get it off the ground. If the city's not behind it, it's not gonna get off the ground. You're gonna have to get into a partnership with a real developer that wants to make a commitment, and it takes a lot of money, and that's something that's going to move the city forward, and hopefully that would attract, being part of it is part of the solution. As far as the event center, there's too many unanswered questions right now. There's a lot of gray. The biggest thing about that, having a business plan that would feasibly work, and we're a long ways from that. So I would not vote for it at this time yet.
I'd say yes to the first question and no to the second, because I don't think the city can afford to get into something like that right now.
I say yes to the first question and no to the second.
I forgot what the first question was.
The housing development.
I was just kidding. Yeah, I'm for that, and I'm thinking of a spot around the lake where people could put apartments or houses back there, and still have a dock where they could put boats out there. And I think there's a lot of possibilities. So, I
Event
vote.
center?
That's a no.
That's a no. Now that you've all answered, I'll tell you that I was at the Iowa Tourism Conference, I don't want that. I was at the Iowa Tourism Conference last week with the people from Manning. They have the Heritage House Barn Conference Center down there. They built a new Boulders beside it. They have 29 weddings booked for 2018, bringing people into their communities, spending money on gas and food and lodging and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, you might want to throw some of these good experiences out. Is there any other questions? Mine is one thing from you in the next 5 years. If you could do one good thing for Lakeview that's going to improve the assessed valuation, what would it be? Who's got the mic?
I do.
Okay, Terry. One thing.
Win the lottery.
Win the lottery. Then he's going to give all that money to the city, right?
I would.
A good share of it, right?
Dredge the lake.
You would dredge it? That'd be wonderful.
Yes, I
Okay.
would.
Okay.
I would build a new school too if it was big enough.
If you had enough money, right?
Yes, I would.
Yeah. Okay. Jeanette?
it's not just the lake that needs to be taken care of, it's the whole town. Yeah, I live right in town.
One thing,
Okay, and we need to cut trees and clean up things there.
I'm gonna say Dredge Lake.
Dredge Lake, okay. One vision for Lakeview.
A real housing development.
I guess I'd like to see Main Street, what are you guys doing? I guess I'd like to see Main Street, if you could have a successful, vibrant Main Street, that's what I'd like to see.
Housing.
And housing, okay, that's great. Let me invite you right now, on April 25th and 26th, we're gonna bring in an international, speaker that works on tourism, branding a community, downtown resurgence, and economic development into Manning. And you're all, for a very small price, you can come to a meeting for 2 days, April 25th and 26th in 2018. We're, through my organization, we get some money from the state, and that's what we try to do, is educate our communities. I have 36 counties in western Iowa, so there's a lot of education, and there's a lot of really cool communities out there that are jumping ahead, taking a risk, and becoming what they need to be. So, any other last questions, suggestions, comments? I'm looking at the back. Any comments? No?
Vote.
Vote. Yeah, don't forget to vote on Tuesday.
I'd like to make one comment.
Yes, Don.
If you're interested in what surrounding communities, if you're interested in what a surrounding community has proposed, read tonight's paper about what's proposed in Jefferson, Iowa.
I have a copy of it.
It scares the hell out of you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's way out in left field. It's far-fetched, but it could become a reality.
Well, it takes a passion. That 4-lane highway wouldn't be up there if there weren't a lot of passionate people about it, so. Anything else? Any other comments for the good of the cause?
Shirley.
Yes. Oh, make sure everybody takes the bars, otherwise these guys are gonna have to exercise an extra couple months. So on your way out, get some coffee, some bars. Thank you for coming. Don't forget to vote. You've got a chance to visit with the candidates.
I better shut this off again.